so happy to be here. I'm Billy Tringali, Editor-in-Chief at the Journal of Anime and Manga Studies, the only open access journal dedicated to anime, manga, cosplay, and their fandoms. Thank you. Oh my god, clapping. What? Not me, never. So, this is the last panel today of our academic session of the Macadamia Jams Academic Symposium. So it's amazing to see a packed house here. I am so excited to introduce John, David, and Elliott, who will all introduce themselves here, but I will say this. From the programming side, all of the meetings that we had desperately included John Marr and crew. All of us were like, God, I hope that John submits. Do you think that John's going to submit to the conference? We've got to get John to submit. So you are going to be in for an absolute treat. And so without further ado, can we get one more big round of applause for our team?
To Anime Expo, and we are very happy to be here. And we're curious, how many of you were here last year for the anime? Oh my goodness, a lot of you. Okay, so we figured we do second impact, third impact, fourth impact. There's a lot of Ava music out there. So just to reintroduce ourselves again, my name is John Marr. I'm professor of music theory, digital music, world music at Santa Ana College. And to my left,
my name is Dr. David Lopez. I teach instrumental music over at College.
and to his left.
My name is Elliott Jones. I'm the choir director and instructor of voice at Santa Ana College.
Okay, so thank you. When we did a panel last year, we weren't sure, and I wasn't sure if David was going to present on Fly Me to the Moon or if Elliott was going to present on Fly Me to the Moon, and it turned out neither of us did, so we will start off with Fly Me to the Moon. Okay, so David, I want to take it away there.
All right, so I'll go ahead and get us started. And as John said, I'm going to be talking about the classic Fly Me to the Moon. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that this is one of those tunes that everybody probably knows or has heard, or almost everybody. Originally written by Bart Howard in 1954, there would be various versions recorded, but it would be the Frank Sinatra recording that would really kind of make this one take off and become super famous. That particular recording, by the way, is kind of interesting. It's arranged by Quincy Jones, kind of the legendary musician and arranger. And by the way, there's a great there's a great Quincy Jones documentary right now on Netflix if you're interested. But that particular arrangement kind of featured the classic Sinatra. It has a big band in it, but it's kind of used lightly. And kind of towards until the end, and but again, it became kind of the recording of it that made it really popular. Since then, it became a jazz standard. And just to kind of let you know what that means, when you study jazz, you're supposed to learn songs so that you and what I mean is you memorize songs so that wherever you go, you kind of have a pool of tunes that you can play from whoever happens to be there at that time. So if you're a jazz musician, you learn a bunch of tunes. You learn, How High the Moon. You learn all the things you are. If you go into a club or a session or a bar or whatever in Chicago, New York, LA, doesn't matter, and you've got your instrument and you know all the things you are, then you're going to be able to play with other people that are there. And so it's just one of the ways that the tradition continues. So any jazz musician who's studying learns those tunes from this list that we call the standard repertoire. Well, some of those tunes on that list are like super standard, and this happens to be one of them. Pretty much every jazz singer has sung Fly Me to the Moon. Frank Sinatra, Ella Fitzgerald, Diana Krall, you name it. I mean, just pretty much everybody. In fact, coincidentally, this morning I was listening to jazz radio. I was listening to 88.1, getting ready to come over here, and Doris Day's version was playing. So it's one of those tunes that it's so popular you can't get away from it. Kind of like, I don't know, Horace Silver tunes, right? How many hours can you listen to jazz radio? 3 or 4 or 5 maybe, no matter what city you're in, one of those tunes will come on, right? So Fly Me to the Moon is one of them. There's even a Lady Gaga version that's really cool if you want to check it out. She has a ballad. Yeah, it's really, really quite exceptional. You guys know that one? Yeah, check that one out if you haven't. Really, really special arrangement. Okay, so the next thing I was going to tell you about this tune is that you're probably saying, well, man, so many people have recorded it, right? So what's the difference? Well, in the jazz tradition, what people usually do is they take a standard, one that has been performed many times before, and they frequently change the style, right? They decide how they're going to do it, right? Are they going to do it as an up-tempo, fast tune? Are they going to do it as a ballad? Are they going to do it as some kind of Latin tune? And so those are decisions that are made by every artist in order to make their rendition of the tune a little extra special. This particular version does a couple of things that I found really interesting. One, it kind of does the bossa nova thing. It uses that sound. Are you guys familiar with the Girl from Ipanema? You know that tune? That's another jazz classic that you can't get away from. Side note, I do know a kind of a jazz master he's performed his whole career doing casuals and lots of different shows. He said he's performed it 10,000 times in his life. I said, how is that possible? And he goes, well, for decades he was in this night band that they played like 7 nights a week, and they played at least once every night. And he had casuals on top of that he sometimes would do earlier in the day with other people, and it was such a popular tune that people would ask him to play that. So anyway, I got sidetracked on Girl from Ipanema, but that's another one of the tunes that deserves that kind of attention. The second thing that happens in this particular tune is that he uses, strings are used. And you may not be aware that pretty much, not all, but many jazz artists at some point in their career kind of do an and strings album, right? So Charlie Parker, and strings. Clifford Brown, and strings. Chet Baker, and strings. So they dedicate one album to an arrangement, two arrangements that focus on adding the lush strings, delicate sounds that the symphonic strings can provide for a jazz tune. And so it's kind of, if you're into that, if you like that, you can kind of explore your favorite jazz artists and see if they come out with an and strings album. And it's just kind of them putting a little bit more of a delicate touch on their jazz recording. Anyhow, so this does that too. And I think at this point, am I missing anything? Oh, it follows a traditional form of, you're gonna get the intro, then a melody, then improvisation, followed by melody, and the strings, again, adding their warmth to this, if you like.
Okay, yeah, and so we're doing the tune that you can find on Netflix and the Blu-ray. Just kidding. Because it's actually not on there. But as you all know, as Dr. Lopez mentioned, there are many versions of it. If you've seen Evangelion, in fact, I have the CD, every end credits was a different version of Fly Me to the Moon, which is pretty incredible, and just, kudos to Anno Hideki for doing that. The version we're going to hear is sung by Claire Litley, and we have her there, and we have your form here, David, and I think we're just ready to go.
Great.
Okay, Fly Me to the Moon.
Fly me to the moon and then
we will be having office hours in room 410 that way at 3 p.m. So we will be doing questions this session. All right, Elliott.
Testament to the breadth of the music from the Evangelion catalog. We are jumping from a song written in 1954, a jazz standard, to a symphony written in 1824. So double check my math. It's 130 years, right? That's not something you often find in a series or film soundtrack. That kind of broad music grasp. So we're going to jump from Frank to Ludwig, and we've got the piece that was taken from his Ninth Symphony. We're going to be listening to an excerpt of the fourth movement of that symphony, but first a little information on the symphony itself. The piece was commissioned by the Philharmonic Society of London in 1817. Beethoven wanted the performance to be in Berlin, being a Berliner himself, but was flattered by the efforts of leading artistic lights in Vienna to have the premiere in that city. So the first performance was May 7th, 1824 in Vienna, which means that next spring, the world is going to be marking the bicentennial of that premiere. So start looking now for really cool tickets all over the place. For those of you that live here in Los Angeles, I can't imagine there won't be opportunities to hear some fantastic performances here, maybe Hollywood Bowl, maybe a Disney concert hall. Check that out. But while this piece is considered globally to be one of the staples, the central pillars of Western music, it has a very special place in the musical repertoire of Japan. So that would be another place to keep an eye out for next year. Because pretty much with the exception of the COVID years, there have been multiple performances of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, often with amateur choruses, like what we have right here, joining with professional symphonies to put on the work. So it was first, and then the basis for this relationship, the love affair with Beethoven's Ninth Symphony and Japan, is that in World War I, there were some captured German POWs. Japan was allied with England in World War I, and so there were German soldiers taken prisoner, brought to the city of Naruto in 1918, and they were encouraged by the head of the prison camp to be involved in productive activities, the publishing of newspapers, running shops, and musical activities. So in 1918, I didn't get the year in there. So, yes. 1918 was the performance in Naruto by prisoners of war. Several years later, it was performed by the students who were at the institution that is now the Tokyo University of the Arts, performed it in 1925. The Big Nine, or the Daiku, is performed repeatedly, but as I've said, by professional and amateur ensembles throughout the month of December every year. Now, we're going to be focusing on a portion of the fourth movement. Beethoven's Ninth was the very first symphony to incorporate voices, soloists and a chorus, but that incorporation takes place only in the fourth and final movement of the symphony. It sets, those vocal lines set an adaptation of Friedrich Schiller's An der Freude, which we translate as Ode to Joy, generally. The first solo entrance by the baritone sings lines written by Beethoven as an introduction to Schiller's text. Now, the fourth movement of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony is actually longer than some entire symphonies. So this is a little unusual. This work is quite a standout. And many musical scholars wrestle, what exactly is this movement? Is it actually a symphonic movement? Is it a cantata? Is it actually a symphony within itself without breaks between the movements? So this has generated a lot of ink in the musicologist circles. But we are focused on its use in Evangelion, and its use in Evangelion is about 2 minutes and 44 seconds from this fourth movement. We begin at measure 30, and had about that's about 6 minutes into the movement, and we go for less than 3 minutes. The performance forces of this fourth movement are SATB vocal soloist, SATB chorus, and full orchestra. The bass soloist that you're going to hear right at the beginning of this excerpt is Michael George, which, I mean, you gotta love that name, right? Michael George? No? So let's listen to some Beethoven Ninth. Oh, I'm sorry. Choir bias. My apologies. Soprano, alto, tenor, bass.
Nice.
Those are the four standard voicings in choral music since about the late Renaissance, early Baroque. Can I just mention, since we talked about some of the performances in Japan, that one of those performances, it happens on a fairly regular basis in Osaka, involves a chorus of 10,000 singers. It's an astonishingly large ensemble, more people on the stage than can be in the audience in many cases. But if you want to see videos of that, you can find it easily on YouTube. It's an amazing spectacle.
And I normally would put it up, but I totally forgot. There's actually a version of this that was used in Evangelion that you can actually get the entire Ninth Symphony Evangelion version. So if you look for it, it is out there. Although it is a different version that's the version from the series. This is taken from, as you can see, Eva 3.0. Okay. All right, next. Okay, Shiro Sagisu. Now, not everybody was here last year, but I'll go kind of quickly. So this is actually the composer for the Evangelion franchise there. So he was born 1957 in the Setagaya district of Tokyo, studied at the now defunct On Music School in Shibuya, see it right up there, joined the jazz fusion band T-Square as a keyboardist from 78 through 82, started collabing with Ano Hideki on Nadi's Secret of Blue Water, and if you haven't seen it, it is quite good. And let's see, what else did I want? A picture of the two of them together. He's also scored many of Anno's live action films as well. If anybody, do I have a Shin Godzilla witnessing? I heard this in I'm like, we heard this before, but it's okay. He's the same composer, so he can't be sued for plagiarism. And as you probably also know, he did, I've not seen it yet, but Shin Ultraman, he's done the music for that. He did not do Shin Kamen Rider. I wrote it in, I looked it up later. I was like, oh, so don't know why. And he recycles many of his tunes, also produces and arranges quite a bit of his stuff. He's also a gourmet chef, I found out, so a little bit there. So the works. I would highly recommend this older anime, Kimagure Orange Road, which I just watched. And by the way, there's an excellent podcast on this by a guy named Jason Almy. I highly recommend it. He studied film. If you ever wanted to go through this, episode by episode, highly recommend it. Nadia, Secret of the Blue Water, of course, why we're here, Evangelion. His and Her Circumstances, the series Hideki did after this one, after Evangelion, which I really liked, but if you've seen it, it starts good and it kind of, how it kind of ends. But I do highly recommend it. The soundtrack's fantastic. Of course, we got Bleach, Berserk, and of course, Off to See the Lizard and Ultraman, which is relatively new. So we're going to hear one of my favorites here, and as often I've begged Elliott, and he still won't, because we've performed a few Eva tunes over the years with the choir. Could we please do Kom Su Sorto? And he says, it's too depressing, but okay, fine. Here's the thing. First off, we love you. We want you to be around for Third Impact. We want you to survive the Third Impact. Come see our Fourth Impact presentation. So, this is the lyrics are a bit disturbing here. So this is from the end of Evangelion. Music by Shiro Sagisu. Lyrics by Mike Wazowski, not him. So there you go. He's a British musician there. And original Japanese lyrics by Anno Hideki. The title is taken from Bach's Home Susurtod, his cantata there. And there's our man Bach. And if you've seen Evangelion, you've heard the prelude to the solo cello suite probably many times, the one in G major. The version we're going to hear is a tune. It's a song sung by the singer Ariane. She goes by Ariane. Her last name Schreiber. She's a South African singer. That's her up there. There are really two sections to the tune, and we won't listen to all of it because it is quite long. The opening chord progression is basically canon in D, which you also hear in Evangelion. So when the verse starts, start singing canon in D. You're going to be right on the money, friends. You'll be fine. And if you're for my theory nerds, it's 156341451. There it is. And then the repetitive B section is very much like Hey Jude of the Beatles, where you have this chorus that repeats for a very, very long time. What's interesting though, the piece is in major, and you have this very happy sounding, major tonality with these lyrics that are anything but, and her delivery is even very cheerful and very happy. The funny thing is, like when we had a Japanese accompanist one semester, and we said, should we do this? And she said, oh yeah, and she's all rocking out, she's all happy and everything, singing this tune, knowing full well what the lyrics mean, but she just found it to be a very joyful piece, so it's the way we interpret music can be widely different. All right, let's take a listen. This is Kom Susur Tod, Come Sweet Death, end of Evangelion. Everybody! Again!
Sing-along Fly Me to the Moon later?
That would be cool. We don't have our instruments with us.
Now, through all the hurt and pain,
Okay, I have my orders, man. Because see, here's the thing. He's a choral conductor, but I'm the one so we just did an anime concert. It was choir, SATV, plus art companies, plus rock band, and we had strings as well. Woo! And so, I always get this 86 vibe. That being said, we love you, and we understand the lyrics are depressing. Should you suffer from depression, please do get professional help. We love you. We want to see you at all of our panels from here on.
It's not just that the lyrics are depressing. I think some of you understand what I'm talking about right here. It's the presentation. I respect any artist's prerogative to explore difficult, challenging subjects, and I encourage that. In my choirs, it's simply a matter of the focus in our choirs. We don't turn anybody away. There's no audition. You want to sing, you come sing. The focus is on the student experience, the singer's experience, and I don't know what those students' experiences are with loss. This last anime concert that we just did, this last spring, we really partnered with a high school to really join us to sing on Guren no Yumiya, our big finish. They had to cancel out because one of the students passed away. I did not get any of the details on that, but it was devastating to the choir. They had to cancel rehearsals for a long time. That's an area that I think can be explored, should be explored in various ways. Musically setting, what I'm talking about is musical settings, lighthearted, deep, angry, but just not in my choir. Because in my choirs, I want people to know that there are certain subjects I'm just not going to fuck around with, and that they can know that and come and have a safe experience. So it's not that it's depressing.
Fair enough. Okay. We just like victory. What next?
All right. I think it's a fun game to listen to music and then kind of figure out how or what inspired the composer. And it's a fun game because I think the more you do, the better you get and the more fun it becomes. So sometimes when I'm listening to songs, I kind of have an open ear for kind of some of the elements that I might hear. They kind of signal that this song might have come from a certain place. Now the first thing that's probably we're gonna hear in this next tune, or it's gonna be striking to us, is the meter. Okay, meter is kind of the way the beats are grouped in music. Most of the time, not most of the time, but well actually yeah, most of the time, we hear stuff that's in 4, right, where the chord gets the beat. So the feel or the emphasis of the music is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Sometimes we get meter like 6/8, which means that you're going to kind of have 2 beats, 1, 2, 1, 2. But the underlying feel within those beats are 3s, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it's a meter that jazz musicians would use sometimes, especially in kind of the later 20th century. But also rock bands would do it too sometimes. So you might get examples like Kansas is the first one that comes to mind that likes to use that kind of meter. Now the next thing about this next tune that we're going to listen to, is that it, unlike the first tune, which is kind of like lyrical, slow, classic, this is a little more exciting, and it's got this kind of 6/8 feel, and you kind of wonder, okay, well, where's this coming from? And definitely kind of used to create excitement, but also in the second half of the 20th century, jazz musicians started blending music with Latin styles or Afro-Cuban, and that opened a door to a whole nother set of rhythms that could be used, because Afro-Cuban music kind of takes from the African tradition of putting a high emphasis on rhythms and complex rhythms and how they interlock. And so what we get here is this kind of use of what we call a cascada pattern, right? It's a cascada pattern. So for those of you who are fans of Latin music, salsa music, cascada is like ging, 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 ging. There's a lot of different types of them, and those depend on what kind of tune. If it's a 3/2 salsa tune or a 2/3 salsa tune, if it's in 4 or if it's 6/8. But the bottom line is it's one of the defining elements of your percussion section that really kind of makes the music magical, because all the rhythms kind of lock in like a Swiss watch, and it helps you identify style. Anyway, so we kind of have this here going on too. What other kind of influences do we have in this music? Well, this kind of sounds a little fusion-y to me. Some of these things, like 6/8 meter, or were used by some jazz fusion artists of the second half of the 20th century, like the Brecker Brothers. Who else? Chick Corea, Pat Metheny. So these are some jazz giants that would use that, and I can't help but think that this kind of is at play here too. Oh, the solo section kind of changes. So whereas you might hear the first part of this in this 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 feel, you're going to notice that when we get to the solo section, the bass line is the most obvious indicator that we have a different section. They have a different role, and it's kind of a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 kind of role. So you want to maybe play it? Yeah. Okay. You know.
We have a dream.
Yeah.
What is a dream? We make the dreams come true.
before the tune started that it's going to feature some pretty hip soprano saxophone playing. Obviously, kind of out of that tradition of John Coltrane, who's like the first person to really be a super wild, and explore the power that could come from that instrument. So yeah, cool.
Okay, cool. And we have not played the game. So, I don't know if any of you have. It was interesting because I was on a collection and Dr. Lopez said I want to do it. I'm like, oh, please, because I always try to pull up graphics to go with what we're listening to. So. Okay, Elliott, you're next.
John, you're looking for music for the next anime? That song, that tight harmony at the beginning, the ending, incorporate that at the beginning.
Yeah.
We happen to know a single reed player that could kick ass on that solo. Right there.
Yeah. His doctorate's in clarinet, so he's an incredible musician.
Rock that song. That'd be awesome. And Phil on the drums. Phil Curry on the drums. He totally handled that.
We're recruiting you, David. He's coming back to our school.
I had not heard that piece before. That was amazing. Oh, and that line. That line. Someone's tears are seeping into the happiness I held in my hands. Damn. Okay, sorry. That was awesome. The whole parking debacle this morning was worth it. So, Kindred Spirits, we are now. I'm taking a little bit of liberty here by calling this an art song. I have no idea. I actually have very little confidence that the composer themselves would refer to the piece as an art song. So I am using this clear song. Clearly, something that is a song. That's indisputable. But I'm using this as an excuse to talk about art song tradition. So I want to put my cards on the table by saying that. But the Kindred Spirits theme is, we got the information there about music and lyrics. The song, I'm seeing a red flag, and that red flag means 5. I just go really fast.
Okay.
I had a cortado before we started this morning. I usually get a single shot, it's a double shot espresso, and I can do fast. I can do fast right now. So composition of secular song has been part of Western, what we call classical music tradition since the Middle Ages, and well before. We wouldn't have maybe thought it was an art song. Typically, what we call an art song would feature a solo vocalist and piano accompaniment. But of course, song traditions have a varied range of accompaniment. But an art song is generally a standalone piece, which is why I tended to think this art song was a good category for this one. Pieces that are parts of larger works, such as an opera, a cantata, an oratorio, they often use an orchestral accompaniment, but B, the song there is just one song. In this soundtrack, you've got a song, but you also have lots of other musical traditions being brought in. In an opera, it's all about the aria. It's all about that song that you hum as you walk out the doors in Vienna. So that's why I'm categorizing this as an art song. That and the form. Songs come in many structures, but there are at least 3 well-known structures you're going to hear in any music appreciation or music history class that you take at your local college, your local community college, where you should be taking classes. Let's just put that out there. Nothing against. Okay, no time for tangents. But there are 3 forms that deal directly with the relationship of the text to the music through compose, where there are no repeated sections. You may have stanzas in the poetry, but the music that sets each of those stanzas is in some appreciable way new. You have strophic, which is kind of the opposite, where each stanza of the text is set to the same music. Very common. If you think about I don't know what your holiday traditions are, but if you think about Christmas carols, for example, Jingle Bells. Dashing through the snow in one horse open sleigh. That's the first verse. Second verse, day or two ago, I thought I'd take a ride into Miss Nellie Bly. We never sing the second verse, but now you know why. But you sing verse 1, verse 2, and verse 3 to the exact same music. That is strophic form. Modified strophic, which is what this song is, features a strophic structure overall. Each verse to the same music, and then some twist, usually at the end. One of those stanzas gets new music, and that's what we have here. Kindred Spirits features the same music for verses 1 and 2, though with octave displacement by the singers. An alto or mezzo-soprano starts, and then a really high lyrical soprano takes the second verse. Verse 3/coda, there's a little bit of additional material there, features new melodic and harmonic settings. Fast enough? Turning on the music.
End zone resolved. Okay, and actually one more plan, but I believe we're out of time. Is that correct? In the back, are we out of time? Back row, are we out of time? We're out of time. Okay, so please join us. So I will save the next piece I was going to do was from the fourth Evangelion film, the opening music for Paris. So come back next year. Third Impact. Thank you so much for coming. We'll have office hours at 3